I can't do anything. Welcome to the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Must have been a sign of the devil we were having technical difficulties. I am Dr. Chris, and we are talking about the prequel to The Omen, directed by Richard Donner. But this movie is directed by, not by Richard Donner, but it's in honor of him. Um, Prequels to pre-established horror movies or pre-established movies have a lot to live up to sometimes. Um, and sometimes they're a hit, and sometimes they're a miss, and sometimes they take 2 hours to get to the point. Especially if you don't remember all the little details from the original film. The last Omen movie I saw was in 2006. Not even joking. On January 6th, sorry, June 6th, 2006. My ex-wife revealed had gone to get we went to get the thing, the sonogram, and we found out we were having a boy on 666, the day the Omen came out. And then at Rocket Shock 3 months later, I met the kid who played the remake Omen. I've never met anyone from the original cast as far as I'm aware. But we're here to talk about the first Omen, which the title implies there is an Omen before the Damien Omen, but I don't know. Um, I wanted to see a movie called Immaculate, which came out at least a month prior, a few weeks prior, starring Sydney Sweeney. The plotline of these two movies very similar. A nun gets impregnated to become the birthing child, the birthing vessel of the son of the devil.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, spoiler alert on a movie that's the prequel to a very well known established plotline for over 45 years. When did the original Omen come out? 1975.
No, I think it was 1972. I mean, if we're going with what this movie was setting in, it's 1971. But
Oh, wow. Before The
but
Exorcist, even.
I could be wrong. I don't actually know exactly when Omen came out. It is 1976.
Okay, it was 76. I was going to say, I thought it was a year before Superman, like 2 years before, a couple years before Superman, at least. Um, but, yeah, I guess some time passes. I don't know. I was taking this movie apart in my brain while watching it. And trying to make all the connections while seeing the film. Do you have a lot of memory of the original movie and the connections?
Yeah. In fact, there's only one that's actually a direct connection from this with the character from the First Omen to the Omen, which I thought was good that they did it, and I thought that the casting of that character was excellent, especially since he's a pretty well-known character actor that um, is in a number of horror films and has the accent that's very similar to the original actor in the Omen.
Okay, so by the way, the fourth Omen movie, the beginning, came out in 1991. It was the last Omen film till 2006, and then 17 years later we get the first Omen. But between that, there was 1981's the final conflict, which starred the very young Sam Neill as Damien. That one
Yes.
I like a lot because Sam Neill is fantastic in almost every role he takes on.
Actually, I think that the Omen 2, and the Omen 3 are a fantastic trifecta of horror films. I thought the Omen 2 was very, very good, especially with Lee Grant, her role in it. But you always have like I mean, with the Omen and the Omen 2, you had that notable patriarch character who was Gregory Peck in the first one, and I believe William Holden in the second one. So I mean, you've got Oscar nominated, Oscar caliber actors like in these horror films, and they're doing a great job. And I mean, for me, I thought this was an excellent prequel to those first three. The 1991 film, I think, is a bunch of trash, and the 2006 just didn't need to happen.
No.
But this one, I thought they did a very good job on.
Um, One of the I was trying to do some digging into. I feel like I definitely need to rewatch the original now that I've seen this. I unlike when we did the when we were the next the Exorcist movie that Blumhouse made. Um, I felt like that film was unnecessary. This was okay, but 2 hours for this to get to the point to the end of the film was, I think, just too long. Like they could have cut a half hour out of this movie.
I disagree. I think
You
that the
need two
setup
hours to get to a pregnancy to just hurry up to get it delivered to get to the next the original.
To get to the exposition, the everything that leads up to that, especially with the performance by Nell Tiger Free, and then what happens when the pregnancy happens. I mean, look, I mean, there's files and files they go through about things that happened prior to what we get at the end of this film. Do I think that they could have actually gone to it much more extreme? And if this was a European version, they probably would have. Yes. Do I think that this one tried to set it up so that there could possibly be some sequels? Definitely yes. But yeah, I actually thought the 2 hours flew by. Like I did not even realize it had been that long when I left the theater and then I had another screening. I thought, I mean, if this is the way you're gonna do horror, especially with a prequel like this, that's something like such a classic horror film, this is the way to do it. It's like I told you, I thought they had the French, that French extreme detail to the gore and grotesque that I am shocked that this is an American made horror film. And then you have that giallo setting with the 1971. They is chef's kiss with the casting, production design, everything. I thought the music was great. I think that Nell Tiger Lee, as I said before, Tiger Free, sorry, who plays Margaret, the lead of the film. She was also in Game of Thrones, but welcome to the monarchy. We have a new screen queen. This film would not be the same without her. I thought her performance was exceptional. I don't want to give away I mean, people can look it up, but I think it's telling that you have the cast that they have. I mean, you have some notable heavyweight actors in this. Like these aren't like little pissy little like the 91 version. Like these are some heavy hitters that are in this, and they wouldn't be in a film that they could actually stand its ground. And I definitely think it does. With any of the things that happened in the 1971 or the 1976 version, here's the thing, there's going to be lies and there's going to be no one's going to know the truth with any of these conspiracies and all that stuff. You could say it's like, well, they said this happened to this in 1976. Yeah, and they also said a lot of stuff that happened in 1976. They lied to the parents, they lied to these people. Who knows what the truth is? We're seeing it in the First Omen. I think the gore is fantastic. As I said before, people who just want some splatter stuff, just be prepared because there's a lot of stuff with lady parts that you probably have not seen before if you've just seen some American stuff. But
Or if you've ever been there for a birth.
If you've been there for a birth, even that, I mean, seriously, there is some stuff in there that is ooh. And you know what? Honestly, the jump scares, there were two that I thought were, I think there's only two. They one definitely got me. I know it was coming and yet I still got it. It was not a perfect film. There is one sequence that I thought overdid it. It could have used a little bit of editing. They kind of went too much with showing some stuff, which I'm like, oh, if you guys would have tightened that up, it actually would have been way more effective. But I think this is a great film. I've seen Late Night with the Devil. I saw that in 2023. So I cannot say that Late Night with the Devil is my favorite horror film of 2024 because it was one of my favorite horror films of 2023. But for me, The First Omen is one of my favorite horror films of 2024. Like this is what I want to see. And I think everyone should really go out there and get it because man, again, I had my like jaw on the ground when certain scenes were going on. It's like I did not expect it to be this. Like nothing that has been in 1, 2, and 3 is anything like this. Like they go there and they do not hold back. I want to see if there would have been like an alternative ending But yeah, I think this is a great film. I think cinematographer that is Aaron Morton, um, chef's kiss to that, and notably Arkasha Stevenson, the director. Welcome to the horror genre. I think she's done some sci-fi, but if this is what she's doing, I cannot wait to see what else is on her plate. Because again, just like Nell Tiger Free, ah, this I thought she did an amazing job with the direction. And I thought the music was good too. They did a great job with the casting because 1970s, you have some good looking people, but not too good looking. And they did, even with the extras, they made sure to do that. Production design, costume, I thought it was great. And as I was saying, with the casting of Neil Ensign as Father Brennan, who is the only actor who's playing an actor that's in the original The Omen. Again, well done. It had me at the setup. I'm not going to say who the cameo is there, but I was hooked from the beginning, and yeah, I'll die on this hill to say this is a good movie.
I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just think it took 2 hours to get to to get to the connection to the other one. It was, um, what is a really great prequel to something? Rogue One is considered to be an incredible prequel to the original Star Wars, and it runs right into the original Star Wars. Like, bam, like ship flies off, bam, ship flies into the original Star Wars or whatever we connect the two extremely well. Um, it just you get like a cool little cameo sort of by somebody in the film that was in the original. Um,
Who's the cameo of this?
the photograph in
Oh,
the when they're
I
like,
don't consider that a cameo. You get a
it's,
photograph.
I mean, he gets a credit in the IMDb as like photograph, archive kind of like thing, kind of like Sean Connery in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull gets a credit. So same thing, Peck has passed away. By the way, I'm in constant emails back and forth with Gregory Peck's daughter, Cecilia Peck, because she's one of my favorite vampires, and My Best Friend is a Vampire. But I digress.
Mhm.
I'll mention to her about the if she was aware of this, if I ever have a chance to talk to her. Um, I think that the mining of the horror fields lately with like these in between film new sequel prequels to center around the original film is a staple of the horror genre today and now. I mean, they just announced there's a Halloween TV series that's going to go back to the original movie. I This is going to be a constant thing, and sometimes they're hit or misses. I don't think this was a complete misfire, but I just think it just took 2 hours to get there. I mean, I wasn't bored watching it, and I didn't fall asleep, thankfully, even though I was exhausted this evening. I just came right from the theater to record this, but I was really like, "Ooh, where are we going with this? How long is it taking to get here? Okay, this is the detective story. It's a mystery." And then I just didn't think it came together in the end extremely well. And maybe I've just been over desensitized by other films that have attempted. Like I said, I wanted to see Immaculate as to compare the two of them together. I just thought it was funny they released two different studios released a kind of similar film so close together, and that has happened before. But usually you don't, you don't do that. Um,
I
but
think
the
it's
sleep,
because of the Easter holiday.
yes,
I
I
actually told when I was at my critic screening last night, someone asked, it's like, I wonder why, they have this, around here. It's like, well, last week was spring break, and that's why Godzilla came out, and which is genius. And what better time to have a movie about the Antichrist and all that stuff than right next to Easter? And they're like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. I'm like, yep.
there was a there's another great film about the Antichrist, but in a very unique and different way. Prince of Darkness by John Carpenter handled the Antichrist in a completely different kind of way. Talking about how the Antichrist is not necessarily the son of the devil. That is the other thing I also want to point out is, and I was talking to somebody as we were leaving the theater, asking him how many times do you ever see the devil being depicted and it's always like a demonic entity, some kind of like red skin thing. And he's like, always. I was like, I can only think of like two examples of whenever the devil has ever been portrayed as an angel. Is like supernatural or like Lucifer. Most of the times, again, the devil is always depicted as being this horned demon looking creature of some kind, and they Hollywood and literature always forget, or sorry, Hollywood and the screenwriters always forget. No, the devil's an angel. He's not a demon. He's an angel hanging out amongst demons. The other thing I want to point out is that David S. Goyer was one of the writers on this as well. Um, his
And
horror
Timmy
cred
Smith
is
and
kind of
Arkasha Stevenson.
all over the place. Obviously, going back to Blade, um, and in the '90s, but that was one of the names that really caught my attention as soon as I saw the credits rolling with this. What else has the director done?
I mean, it's on IMDb. Let me see. I know she did. Let's see.
Oh, it's a woman.
I,
Okay, I didn't catch the full name of the director.
yes, I said she. My IMDb is not pulling up. I know
I
she
got it.
did. She was in a. It was a horror series and or
Vessels,
sci-fi series
vessels.
and Legion and brand new cherry flavor.
Gotcha. The only thing I'll also right in the very beginning of this movie, it's not much of a spoiler because he's only in two scenes. I thought Charles Dance was completely wasted in this. Like, boom, gone. Just completely useless role for Charles Dance to take. I mean, he needed a paycheck to pay a mortgage, obviously.
Again, agree to disagree. Like his torment and torture, describing without going into detail of what he witnessed and how he cannot do this any longer. I think a lesser actor would not have had the impact that he did.
I think a
And
lesser actor could have just taken the role and just Charles Dance is so much bigger than this.
well, yeah, and I mean, I think you need to have that like cementing, like shot through the gut in the beginning. And I don't think a lesser actor could have done that. I think Charles Dance is the perfect person to do it. And the fact that, again, I said this is one of my favorite beginnings of the film, and it's because of what happens to him. I
And
mean,
Bill Nighy in
yeah,
and out, like just also wasted.
again, agree to disagree, Chris. I mean, I
Why?
just said
How can you disagree? He's like barely in the movie. He completely disappears from that plot line.
he's one of the reasons why the main character is there.
I get
Like
that, but
she,
they could have had him more involved with it than
well, no, because
I
he's a
would rather have had
cardinal.
him more involved than the whatever you call the head sister, the leading nun. Not being Catholic,
The
I don't know
sister
all the
superior,
terminology. Huh?
sister superior.
Mother Superior, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if she's actually a mother superior. They always call her sister, so it's kind of like a sister superior thing.
Oh,
But I
I thought
mean,
a Mother
he's a
Superior was the
cardinal.
woman who
Like
runs the convent.
it's the whole thing. They go through the exposition of like why he's there for Margaret. Like he's there, and then you find out the connection, like the beginning to the end. You don't need him in the middle because it's all about Margaret's character. I mean, this is a very female led horror film. Like, I think 85% of the cast are women. And there, I mean, you have all the nuns in the orphanage who, whoo, yeah, again, there's reason why I have questionable antics with religion. And then all
Mm.
the kids that are there. Then you have the nun who is her best friend roommate. You go through all the stuff in the background when they talk about the exposition of different things happening and how what those women went through. Then you have the birthing scenes that are there. The only have you just have the bookends where you have like actually the guys who are trying to have something to do with the movie. And Bill Nye is one of those. You don't need him to be in the middle because if he was, he would interfere with what's going on with Margaret. The one person you need to have on that is Ralph Ennison or Ralph Ensign as Father Brennan. Even he is there very fleeting because Margaret's just trying to figure out what's going on with herself and with her head, like the abuse she endured, like in her orphanage when she was growing up, and then having that connection with Carlita, who's at the orphanage. I mean, if if Bill Nye was in it more, it would take away with her journey of explanation of how she got from the beginning to where we get at the end of the film. And it's also the betrayal that she feels because of him.
And the betrayal of her roommate, which I wish they had
Yeah.
set that more up between the two of them. Her whole habit induction to get the habit, the whole ceremony, that was
Mm-hmm.
cool. I have never witnessed one of those, but I have access to a nun I can probably ask and be like, hey, how is the process for this thing? Or I could probably look it up online. I'm sure somebody has
And
something.
mind you, that is a 50-year difference and a different country. Is when a nun takes her vows, is, I mean, she is getting married to Christ. So is it represented as an actual wedding? That to me, I'd never seen before. And yet at the same time, it made sense. Do I know if that's true or not? No. Could that have been true in early 1970s, like Italy? Maybe. I mean, this is
Mm.
a whole different hemisphere that we're dealing with. But I agree. I thought that was a very cool look at her. And she was an awesome actress to play, so such a duplicitous role, especially when, I mean, it's always one of those things like when your roommate wants you to go out, because hey, we're gonna be nuns. It's like, in 2 weeks, no one's gonna be able to see only this. So I want to show a little bit of that without doing anything. What's wrong with that? And it's like, maybe, maybe not. But then when you wake up and you can't remember the night before, it's like that's never good, even if you're not a nun possibly getting impregnated by Antichrist. Believe me, that's just never good. That's never good.
Well, check out the rest of the videos here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and comment on this one. Check out Katie over on hers or on her Facebook page or their new Radio Horror page, or send an email to radiohorror@gmail.com. And we'll be back with another exciting review as well as others coming up, as there's a ton of new horror movies coming out over the next several weeks and coming months as well, which is fantastic. Not just horror, but also some really great sci-fi movies too. So stay tuned for that here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel.